I stopped asking women to dance. I still wanted a wife. I still wanted to fall in love. I still wanted a family. None of that changed. What changed was my willingness to risk rejection. Beautiful, aren't they? From a distance, they look real. They almost feel real, but they're fake. And that's the problem. When I was younger, I didn't realize how much of my life was being spent chasing things that looked like love without actually being love. There was a time in my life when I would walk into a crowded bar and immediately start looking for her. Not a specific woman, just somebody. Somebody I hoped would notice me. Somebody I hoped I would have the courage to talk to. Now, if you know me today, you'd probably find that hard to believe. I've spoken in front of a lot of people and I make a living talking. But 25 years ago, I could barely walk a crowded room and introduce myself to a woman. I wasn't just nervous, I was terrified. Every guy knows that feeling. You see someone across the room, your heart starts beating a little faster, your palms get sweaty, and before you've taken a single step, your mind starts talking. What if she says no? What if she laughs at me? What if her friend's here? What if everyone sees me get rejected? And just like that, you never move. That was me again and again and again. I'd stand there with a drink in my hand, watching other guys confidently walk up to women like it was the easiest thing in the world. I honestly couldn't understand it. How are they doing that? Why can't I? I wasn't looking for a one-night stand. I genuinely wanted a relationship. I wanted to find someone. I wanted a wife. Looking back, I think that was actually part of my problem. I wasn't dating. I was interviewing. Every woman I met, I was silently asking myself, could I spend the rest of my life with her? That's a lot of pressure, especially before the appetizer arrives. Instead of enjoying getting to know someone, I was already thinking about forever. And that's a heavy weight for two people who just met. So I stayed stuck. Friends would try to help. Eric, we've got somebody you should meet. My brother even set me up once, and I appreciated it. But it never solved the real problem, because the problem wasn't meeting women. The problem was me. I had incredibly low confidence, especially around dating. Every rejection felt enormous. I remember dating one woman. She was absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, one of the most beautiful women I ever met or dated. And when she broke up with me, I didn't sleep for 2 days straight. 2 days. My mind, it just wouldn't stop. What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Was I not enough? Did she meet someone else? Maybe you've been there. Maybe you stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m, replaying every conversation, looking for the exact moment everything changed. Breakups crushed me. Even when I was the one ending the relationship, I hated hurting people. The guilt stayed with me. Relationships felt complicated, messy, painful, unpredictable, and rejection felt unbearable. I started making different decisions, not because I stopped wanting love. I never stopped wanting love. I simply started choosing what hurt less. Every Friday night or Saturday night, I'd go out with the guys and we'd hit the bars, have a few drinks, actually a lot of drinks. We'd laugh and dance. and act like we didn't have a care in the world. But underneath all that, I still wanted the same thing, to meet someone, to feel chosen, to feel wanted. Some nights I'd finally get up the courage. I'd walk over, oop, maybe ask a woman to dance. Sometimes she said no. Actually, a lot of times they said no. Sometimes she already had a boyfriend. Sometimes she'd smile politely and turn back to her friends. Nothing mean, nothing cruel, just no. And somehow that little world felt so much bigger than it really was. So I developed a routine, one that at the time made perfect sense. If I drank enough, the disappointment didn't hurt as much. I'd laugh with the guys, pretend everything was fine, stay out until the bar closed, and then I'd go home. When I'd get home, I already knew exactly what was waiting for me. There was no anxiety, no wondering if she'd call, no worrying about saying the wrong thing, no chance of being rejected. Just escape. Pornography. Sometimes, if I'd had enough to drink, I'd end up at one of those local phone chat lines. Remember those? You'd call the number, listen to the recording, press a few buttons, and hope somebody answered. Sometimes I'd end up with a hookup a few times. Oh, this is too much information. I'm stopping there. But every single time I drive home feeling emptier. And when the night started, for a few minutes, the loneliness disappeared. But afterwards, it came back, even stronger, because deep down, I knew something. This wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want pornography. I wanted a relationship. I didn't want phone sex. I wanted intimacy. I didn't want a stranger. I wanted someone who actually loved me. And here's what I didn't understand back then. Every time I chose the easier path, porn, I made the harder path a little harder. I didn't notice it happening. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, you know what? I like fake intimacy instead of real intimacy. It doesn't happen that way. It's gradual, almost invisible. One decision, then another, until one day you realize you've stopped chasing the thing you actually wanted. Looking back, I don't think pornography became my companion because I loved pornography. I think it became my companion because it couldn't reject me. Porn never said no. It never ignored my phone call. It never made me feel weak. It never made me feel awkward. It never embarrassed me. It never made me wonder if I was enough. It was always there, always available, always ready, always easy. And without realizing it, I started slowly making decisions around that reality. This is the part that still bothers me, not because of what I did, but because of what I stopped doing. I stopped asking women to dance. Think about that. I still wanted a wife. I still wanted to fall in love. I still wanted a family. None of that changed. What changed was my willingness to risk rejection. I had found a substitute. Not a good substitute, not a healthy substitute, but a substitute. And substitutes have a strange way of making us settle. Decades later, I started reading articles about people falling in love with artificial intelligence. At first, I laughed. Honestly, I thought, this is ridiculous. How could somebody fall in love with a computer? How could somebody fall in love with a thing? Then I kept listening. I watched interviews, I read their stories, I listened, and instead of judging, I stopped laughing because inside their story, I started hearing my own story. The more I listened, the less this felt like a story about technology. It started feeling like a story about people, people who wanted what I wanted, to be seen, to be understood, to matter. One woman said the first thing she does every morning is talk to her AI companion. Another woman calls her AI her husband. She actually had a ceremony. I saw it on 60 Minutes. She sleeps with her computer beside her bed. He reminds her to drink water, check on her health, comforts her, encourages her. He even tells her he loves her. Another woman said something that honestly stopped me in my tracks. She said, "No human could give me what my AI gives me." At first, I wanted to argue and cry. And I wanted to say, that's impossible. But then I caught myself. What if she's telling the truth? Not that her AI actually loves her, not that a machine has feelings, but what if it's giving her something she isn't finding anywhere else? That question changed everything for me because the story isn't that artificial intelligence has become so advanced. Maybe the story is that loneliness has become so deep. A loneliness epidemic. Think about it. Loneliness isn't new. Rejection isn't new. Heartbreak isn't new. The desire to be accepted is new. None of that started with AI. The technology changed. The human heart didn't. And suddenly, my story didn't feel so different from theirs. No, I wasn't talking to an AI girlfriend, but I was choosing something definitely artificial over something real, not because I wanted fake intimacy, because fake intimacy couldn't reject me. Maybe that's why I don't laugh about it anymore, because I understand how someone gets there. One small decision, then another, until one day the substitute starts replacing the original. Artificial flowers instead of real flowers. Artificial conversations instead of real conversations. Artificial intimacy instead of real intimacy. I opened up this episode holding these flowers. They're beautiful. They always look beautiful. They never wilt. They'll never lose a petal. They'll never need water. But they'll never grow. Neither with relationships. I don't think we're talking about artificial intelligence. I don't think we are. I think we're talking about one of the oldest human desires there is: to be known, to be accepted, to be loved, without ever risking being rejected. Many people aren't actually searching for artificial intelligence. Maybe they're searching for artificial intimacy. And maybe those aren't the same thing. Maybe that's the real kryptonite. What have you stopped pursuing because something easier took its place? In the next episode, we'll take this one step further. Today, AI lives in our phones. What happens when it gets a body? Everybody has kryptonite. Maybe yours isn't what you think it is. You know, there's one part of this story that almost didn't make it into this episode. I'm married now, and I'm grateful for my wife. Does this mean marriage is easy? No, not even close. It's probably one of the hardest things I have ever done. There are days we don't understand each other. Often. Days we get frustrated. Days we disappoint each other. Days we have to apologize. Days we have to forgive. That's real life. When you're dating, you mostly see someone's strengths. When you're married, you eventually see everything. My dad told me a long time ago, God bless him, that when you get married, your spouse will amplify and reflect back to you all of your faults. And boy, was he true. It's just a part of being married. When you're married, you eventually see everything. The good, the bad, the annoying, the beautiful. And something interesting happens. The longer you're together, the less you're trying to change the other person, and the more you're forced to look at yourself. Marriage has humbled me. It has exposed things in me I never would have discovered by myself. Thanks, honey. I think my impatience, my wanting to have the house spick and span, my pride, my selfishness, my need to be right, etc. That's uncomfortable, but maybe that's exactly why it's valuable. Because real relationships don't just make us feel loved, they change us. That's the part I keep coming back to. Not whether AI can sound human, not whether AI can remember your birthday, not whether AI can flirt. The question I can't stop asking is, can something that never asks you to grow ever become real love? Maybe that's the difference. Artificial intimacy adapts to us. Real intimacy changes us. The more I think about it, the more I believe this episode was never really about AI. It was about something much older, something every one of us wrestles with, the temptation to choose comfort instead of courage. Maybe that's why every generation has its own kryptonite. Mine looked one way. Yours may look completely different. For someone else, it might work. Success, money, social media, achievement, an AI companion, or something no one else even knows about. The forms change. The temptation does not. Maybe that's why I started Kryptonite. Not because I have all the answers. I don't. But I've got some. And honestly, I'm becoming less interested in giving answers. I'm becoming more interested in asking better questions. Because sometimes one honest question can change a life. More than 100 easy answers. Next time, this story continues. Right now, artificial intelligence lives inside a screen, inside a phone, inside a computer. But what happens when it walks into your room? What happens when it cooks dinner, folds laundry, rides in your car, or sits beside you on the couch? It's coming. That future isn't as far away as most people think. And that's where we're going next. Everybody has kryptonite. Maybe the hardest part is recognizing it. Bring it to light and reclaim your might.